Disclaimer. Since this video was created, The Telegraph released Johnson's full Brexit plans, and we'll be posting a video about that tomorrow morning. In this video, we discuss his Brexit plan in broad strokes, as well as his domestic agenda, but we will not be covering the details of this announcement. Since becoming Prime Minister, Johnson hasn't exactly had a stellar record for winning votes in the House of Commons. One such vote was held last week, when Johnson asked Parliament to allow him to resuspend the session to allow his party to hold their annual conference. The results were 306 votes against and 289 in favour, marking his 7th loss in the House since him taking office. But that didn't mean that the Conservative Party conference was cancelled. Imagine how much all those ribbons would have cost. You can't just cancel that last minute. So the Tories went ahead and held their conference anyway. The daily commute between Manchester and the House of Commons can't have been fun, but if the Conservative ministers were to set out their core policy proposals to hordes of supporters, it was the best way to do it. In this video, we're going to discuss Johnson's plans. We focus on Brexit a lot on this channel, but we're going to take a look at the government's domestic plans too. Before we do though, let me quickly shout out our merch store. As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, we recently revamped the store with a bunch of new designs, including the very popular Flying Flamingo design. If you want to pick up any of them, then click the link in the description. One other thing, Speaker John Bercow is about to give up his post, and considering he's been the focus of two of our most popular designs, we thought it would be nice to send him one as a leaving gift. It's a really long shot, but if anyone has any connection to Bercow, maybe your sister plays table tennis with his best friend from school, or maybe Mr. Bercow, you're watching this yourself. Regardless, if you think you can lend us a hand, email us at hello@TLDRNEWS.co.uk with the subject line, Bercow Leaving Party. Often we comment that you should take what we're saying with a pinch of salt. So it's worth noting at the outset, this video requires 2 full shakers worth of salt. Firstly, the government has no majority at the moment, so while they might be presenting these policies in good faith, they don't have the power to get them passed without the support of other parties. That doesn't mean that these promises can't be kept, just that they're unlikely to happen right now. And that brings us to point number 2. They're essentially policy proposals for the next general election. The Conservatives know that a general election is likely on the horizon, so they'll be using this platform to highlight their core election promises. Again, we're not saying that these aren't sincere reflections of what the Conservatives want to do, just that they don't really have the power to do them until an election has happened. Regardless though, what are these policies, these election promises? What do the Conservatives want to do? Well, it seems only sensible to start with Brexit. It's a big issue and it's one of the core pillars of our channel. Brexit has been a consistent theme across a whole number of recent Conservative speakers. As I said, they know that an election is likely coming soon, and that they don't have the power to get a whole lot done before then. So ministers at their conference are about as likely to spend their time kicking the Labour Party and talking about getting Brexit done as they are actually talking about their department. So the government's Brexit plans remain pretty stable at this point. If you're familiar with our videos, you'll likely know what I'm about to say. Johnson continues to insist that the UK must leave the EU on the 31st of October, no ifs or buts. He claims that a deal is very much still possible, but with time running out, almost all EU leaders have lost hope in this possibility, at least before the 31st. So it's possible that Johnson has more faith and thinks they can hammer something out. It's also possible that he'll be forced to ask for an extension in order to get a deal through. And it's possible that he never really wanted a deal in the first place, and running out of time is his ideal scenario. The government's stance might not have changed all that much, but we still don't know what they really want. That's all set to change in the next couple of days though, with Johnson about to announce his full plans after his conference speech, and in talks with other EU leaders. We don't know all the facts when this video is being written, but of course we'll update you as soon as we can. Regardless though, the party certainly doesn't seem scared of no deal, with Chancellor Sajid Javid saying that the government has been working hard to mitigate the problems that no deal might throw up, clarifying that we'll be able to deal with many of the disruptions. He went on to say that he was clear that if there was a no deal, there would be a significant economic policy response, as well as admitting that he wasn't sure what a no deal would cost the UK, saying, "I don't think anyone really knows a proper answer to that question." The Tories' plans go further than Brexit though, with the party setting out how they want to rule a post-Brexit Britain. Since taking up office, Johnson's government has promised a whole host of spending plans, so it wasn't surprising that a lot of the focus has been on new spending. In fact, so far, the Conservatives have promised more than £50 billion during their conference. Even before the conference, the Conservatives committed to a £13 billion spending plan, which they said would lead to the construction of 40 new hospitals. While improving the NHS has been at the centre of Johnson's plans, many criticised the proposal, with Jonathan Ashworth, Shadow Health Secretary, saying that it quickly unravelled as spin. That's because it emerged that they'd actually only committed £3 billion so far, and that money would only go to 6 NHS trusts, rather than the 40 originally announced. Also, these trusts all had plans to rebuild their hospitals already. That's not to say that they won't honour this commitment eventually, with Health Secretary Matt Hancock sticking to the 40 hospital line, saying that we'll have that debate in the spending review. But the thing is, I've got absolute rock-solid support from the Prime Minister for what I've needed to do. I think most people can agree that spending on the NHS is a good thing. The question some have is whether it's a genuine plan or just a PR move. Ashworth commented that new investment is desperately needed, and of course we welcome any genuine new money, but patients and demoralised NHS staff are fed up of being taken for fools like this. This wasn't the end of the spending priorities, with Chancellor Javid announcing more major infrastructure investment, investing in roads, buses and internet connections. Javid commented on the necessity of this investment, saying that investment in our infrastructure will be key to making the next decade one of renewal, boosting our economy and making life easier for people all across the country. So what's this money actually going on? Well, let's start with the internet. The Conservatives announced plans to spend £5 billion on a full fibre rollout, as well as improving 5G coverage. Labour called these plans into question though, highlighting that the National Infrastructure Commission says that the cost of building and maintaining a fibre network across the whole country would cost in excess of £33 billion, significantly more than what the government currently plans to spend. Next is the government's plan to spend £25 billion over 5 years in order to improve roads around the UK. These upgrades were actually announced last year, but the government has now confirmed which roads they plan to work on first, with the plan expected to cover 14 different projects, including the A66 Trans-Pennine Expressway, the A46 Newark Bypass, and the M60 Simster Island Interchange. Then there's the £220 million, which is being put into a bus strategy designed to improve service in England. The plan includes investing in electric buses, improving services, and ensuring that contactless payments are available on all city buses. On top of spending, the Tories also set out green initiatives that they called a net zero package. Andrea Leadsom, the business secretary, alongside the environment and housing secretaries, announced this suite of policies designed to help the country reduce carbon emissions to net zero by 2050. The initiative contains a number of plans, including an investment of up to £1 billion in R&D funding to help develop cleaner transport technology, from the manufacturing of batteries to electric motors. They also announced plans to invest further in renewable energy, highlighting the success the parties had in the past, and their plans to build a fusion power plant. Leadsom said that today's announcement is further evidence of the benefits of going green. The Conservatives are doing this properly, creating hundreds of thousands of low-carbon jobs and growing our economy while successfully reducing emissions. Finally, the Conservatives announced a 5-year target to make changes to the national living wage. These changes would see the national living wage increase from £8.21 to £10.50 an hour, and reduce the minimum age of its recipients from 25 to 21. Javid said that the hard work of the British people is paying off. It's clear the Conservatives are the real party of Labour. We are the Workers' Party. As you might expect, and might have picked up on already, Labour weren't particularly keen on the new announcements. The Guardian reported Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell saying that this combination of re-announcements and damp squibs shows the real difference between the two parties. The Tories tinkering around the edges versus Labour's fundamental shift of power and wealth from the few to the many. On the topic of the national living wage, McDonnell described the changes as a pathetic attempt to catch up, and said that Labour will introduce £10 as a minimum as soon as we take office, and rising with living costs. It will mean that everybody over 16 years of age will be earning comfortably more than £10.50 an hour by 2024. McDonnell went further, criticising the specific aspects of the government's plan. He highlighted that the government were planning on spending 113 times more on roads than on public transport initiatives, a move which he said makes a mockery of the Tories' so-called green credentials. Over the next few days, we expect to hear more of the Conservatives' plans, as their conference continues and the election that everyone's expecting gets ever closer. Of course, we'll keep you updated on the government's plans in relation to Brexit and domestic policy more generally, so be sure to subscribe if you want to be kept up to date. And hit the bell icon if you want to be notified every time we release a video. If you want more from us, you can find us across all social networks simply by searching for TLDR News. And if you want your name to be featured at the end of the videos just like these people, then be sure to check us out on Patreon. There's a link to that in the description.